Welcome to today's episode, an episode in which we step beneath the surface of everyday thinking. Carl Gustav Jung believed that most of what we are lives outside the light of consciousness, and although he wrote in a very different century, the modern world has made his ideas more relevant than ever before. Today, the human being rarely holds a single identity. Instead, we split into many: the professional self, the relational self, the online persona, the hidden observer who watches without speaking. In a world pulling us outward, Jung's insistence on turning inward becomes not just a psychological theory, but a kind of mental survival. One of Jung's most striking ideas is the shadow, the portion of the psyche containing everything we disown: impulses, memories, potentials, and emotions we refuse to admit as ours. The shadow is not only the dark in a moral sense, it is the unclaimed. Modern culture, built on performance and self-display, amplifies the shadow at unprecedented speed. The more polished the image we push outward, the more pressure builds on what we suppress inward. According to Jung, what we do not integrate controls us from the depths. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In the 21st century, this fate often expresses itself digitally. Our repressed aggression leaks into anonymous comments. Our unmet longing turns into compulsive scrolling. Our unexamined envy becomes comparison addiction. Jung would likely see all this as the psyche's compensation mechanism, the unconscious pushing back when consciousness becomes too one-sided. But Jung's work was not only about pathology, it was fundamentally about wholeness. He believed that each person carries an inner blueprint for psychological growth, the process of individuation. Individuation is not becoming better in the moral sense. It is becoming more real, more internally coherent, more aware of our contradictions instead of hiding from them. This process requires a descent, a symbolic journey into the cave of the unconscious. We meet the shadow, the anima or animus, the inner child, the wise old figure, and eventually the self, the organizing center of the psyche, which Jung described as both the goal and the guide of inner transformation. In our era of constant stimulation, individuation faces a unique obstacle: fragmentation. Jung warned that the greatest threat to psychological life is loss of inner dialogue. Without it, we become flat, reactive, easily manipulated by collective emotions and trends. Collective psychology, another of Jung's key concepts, is particularly visible today. Social networks behave like what Jung would call archetypal fields, powerful emotional currents that sweep individuals into mass reactions. Outrage, tribalism, idealization, fear, these are not merely social phenomena. They are expressions of deep, ancient patterns embedded in the psyche of humanity. To navigate such forces, Jung proposed developing what he called symbolic consciousness, the ability to understand psychic images, dreams, fantasies, and emotions as meaningful messages rather than random noise. Dreams, in particular, were for him the psyche's natural language. A dream, Jung said, does not lie, it shows the truth we ignore. Imagine the modern person, constantly distracted, rarely alone, rarely silent. Jung would probably say that we suffer not from a lack of information, but from a collapse of inner orientation. We know everything except ourselves. So what does Jung offer to the person living in the 2020s? Know your shadow. Not to glorify it, but to stop being its hostage. Noticing an ugly impulse is healthier than pretending to be pure. Cultivate inner dialogue. Reflection, journaling, silence, dreams, these are not luxuries, they are psychological necessities. Resist the collective when needed. Jung warned that people who lose individuality become dangerous to themselves and others. Search for meaning, not comfort. Jung believed that neurosis often grows from a life that lacks symbolic or existential purpose. Follow the self, not the ego. The ego wants stability and recognition. The self wants wholeness and truth. As we close today's episode, remember this: Jung did not ask us to be perfect. He asked us to be aware, to be curious about what moves within us, to treat the psyche not as a machine to optimize, but as a living system that wants to grow, to integrate, to speak. The unconscious is not our enemy. It is the part of us that refuses to live unseen. And perhaps the real work of our time is not to conquer it, but to listen to it with enough courage to learn who we might become.